The Carolina Panthers climb back from a 17-0 hole to come back and win at home against the Miami Dolphins. Let's talk about it right here on Locked On Panthers.
You are Locked On Panthers, your daily Carolina Panthers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Julian Council, talking Carolina Panthers with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and yes, of course, Friday, your team every day. That's our motto here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for watching the show right here on YouTube, where I am live from the Panthers press box following the Panthers' 27-24 win here in Uptown Charlotte against Miami Dolphins. You can always find every live episode on YouTube, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and of course, over in the YouTube feed if you do not check it out live. This episode of Locked On Panthers is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. The Carolina Panthers, 27. The Miami Dolphins, 24. The Panthers come back from a 17-0 deficit to win at home against Miami. And Dave Canales said after the game, this game is about how you respond to adversity. And we have seen in the past, like last week in New England, the Panthers have not responded well. We go back to week 1 against Jacksonville. They also did not respond well. But we did see week 2 in the desert against Arizona, the Panthers respond to come back, to make that a game, get the onside kick. Unfortunately for them, not be able to close it off and win the game there in Arizona, but they showed themselves and they proved to a lot of us that they were at least capable of, if they gotten themselves into a hole, which has happened more times than anyone would care to see them do that, they can come back and have an opportunity like they did today here in Uptown Charlotte to win the game. And I have asked a lot of questions about who these Panthers are going to be in 2025. And I felt like going into this game, we were going to know more about Carolina. Miami, they're coming off their first win of the season on Monday Night Football against the Jets. Not a good Jets team, not a good Dolphins team, but a peer of Carolina who they in themselves were trying to figure out who they were going to be this year. So an opportunity against an equal opponent at home where you were awesome 2 weeks ago against Atlanta to get on the board with another win, get to 2-3, welcome Dallas next week, and then head to New York to face off against quite possibly the worst team in the NFL in the New York Jets. And this was a game that did not get off to the kind of start that Carolina needed to get off to. They end up getting down 3-0. Bryce Young has a fumble where he's getting pressured by Bradley Chubb and just loses the ball, about as worst of a turnover as you're going to see. And what have you seen throughout the season? When Bryce Young turns the ball over, the opponents cash in. Week 1 in Jacksonville, they got 10 points off of turnovers. Week 10 in Arizona, before you could even blink, they got 10 points off of turnovers. And then today, that turnover, the fumble there, that led to a touchdown for Miami. Then on the next time, he threw an interception, overthrowing his ever to get. That led to a touchdown for Miami. It was 17-0 early in the second quarter, and a Bank of America Stadium where there were plenty of Dolphins fans in the stadium was quiet, except for the folks there in orange and in teal, whatever their colors are. So that was not a good sign. And I was sitting there wondering, well, I guess this is who the Carolina Panthers are going to be in 2025. They're going to be a team that, yeah, they got that big win against Atlanta, but a team that's just going to shoot themselves in the foot, lay down, get blown out by a mediocre Dolphins team who's likely going to fire their coach, Mike McDaniel, at some point this season in 2025. And this would just delay the inevitable for Stephen Ross and the ownership down there in Miami. But instead, they did what Dave Canales said his team was capable of doing on Monday when he was asked about what this team's identity is. He says that this is a team that's going to show effort and they're going to fight back. They didn't show effort last week in New England, but they also didn't fight back, but they did fight back in Arizona. So you knew that they were capable of doing it. And damn it, if they didn't do it today, they decided to not fold. They got right back up, and dare I say, they kept pounding, and they found a way in this game. And really, the credit, the game balls go out to Rico Dowdle and the Carolina Panthers defense for the way that they played in this game here on Sunday. Rico stepping in for Chuba Hubbard, who has a calf injury that's plagued him over the last couple of weeks. And even at the end of last season, they want to shut him down, have him out for this game, and then bring him back next week if he's ready to go against Dallas, which meant that Rico, who came over here to Carolina back in his home state where he's from Asheville, played down at South Carolina for the Gamecocks, he was back home with an opportunity, no, not to be RB1, to be able to be RB2 and get a good amount of snaps here coming off that 1,000-yard rushing season in Dallas. And he was waiting his turn. He got his opportunity today, and he made the most out of it, rushing for 206 yards. That's second most in a single game by a Panthers player, right there with Jonathan Stewart. 210 by D'Angelo Williams back in 2012 is the record here in Carolina. He was 4 yards off of having the record in his first start as a Carolina Panther back home here in the Carolinas. 9 yards per carry, and continuously in this game, you saw him run to the right behind Cade Mays, behind Brady Christensen, who also finally got his opportunity this season, and Taylor Moton, and they road graded. They ran through Miami all throughout the day on the right side. You saw him rip off a 53-yard run there in, this, I believe, the second half that led to, unfortunately, a field goal for Carolina. You saw later on he had another big run that led to a touchdown drive that gave Carolina the lead there at the end of the game. I mean, Rico Dowdle was massive in this game. And we had thought throughout the offseason, when you look at Rico, you look at Chuba, maybe no one's going to say that those guys are individually top 10 backs, but could this be a top 10 backfield if utilized behind an offensive line that was bringing back everybody from a year ago with a head coach and play caller? And Dave Canales talks about being stubborn around the football. Could this be a really good dynamic tandem? We hadn't seen it so far. A lot of people asking me, why have the Panthers not been able to run the ball? And I had even said that they've been playing from behind. Well, they played from behind today, and they ran the ball, especially once they got back in it. And a big reason they were able to get back into this game is the defense. The much maligned Panthers defense that was awful in week one, giving up 200 yards rushing to Jacksonville, that they turned around there in the second half against Arizona, pitched a shutout a couple weeks ago here in Uptown Charlotte against Atlanta, then reverted back last week against the Pats. Today, I can't even put what happened in that 17-0 deficit on them. Miami, on their scripted drive to start off the game, kicked the field goal. Okay, fine. Anytime it's not a touchdown, a field goal, you'll take that. You stop in the red zone, you'll take that. After that, the 2 touchdowns they gave up, certainly they did not do a good job in the first half on Darren Waller, who had 5 receptions for, I believe, 83 yards in the first half alone, and a touchdown, or 78 yards it is. And Panthers have routinely struggled against tight ends this season. So you saw that happen. Didn't love it. You're down 17-0. Yes, this defense needs to be better in sudden change. So far this season, when Bryce Young has turned the ball over, the opponents have passed it in for 34 points, and that is not playing winning football. But picking up your offense, that can be winning football. And we saw after that 17-0 deficit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight series for the Miami offense that ended in a punt and allowed the Panthers offense, which reluctantly was taking a long time to get back in the game, enough time to where they eventually were able to take that lead. And then when the defense gave it right back because Mike Jackson gets beat for 46 yards by Jalen Waddle, the Panthers offense goes back down the field. They score that touchdown. They're up 27-24, and the Panthers defense gets a quick 3-and-out, this 5th, I believe, 3-and-out of the day for them on this Sunday. And that was all she wrote as Carolina throws the ball there. Hunter Renfrow gets held. They're able to nail it out, win this game at home, and one of the bigger comebacks that they've had in franchise history. I believe the last time they came back from 17-point deficit was on the road in Philadelphia back in 2018 when Cam Newton was the quarterback here in Carolina. One of the all-time days for Panther fans over the last decade with that win. So hat tip to Rico Dowdle, who told us in the locker room he had been telling J.C. Horn, his former South Carolina teammate, all week he was going to run for 180 yards. Well, Rico actually ran for 206 yards, and you nearly ran for a franchise record today here at home in this win in the defense where they got pressure. You saw the sack from Derek Brown. Ashawn Robinson had one. Pat Jones, the sack that effectively ended the game. There's Mike McDaniel, had all 3 timeouts, had to figure out, what am I going to do here in this situation? Am I going to go forward on like 4th and 15, whatever it is, the clock running, or am I just going to punt it, hope to get a stop? And, of course, they don't get that stop. Carolina is able to get that penalty, stay on the field, and win the game you saw a lot about what this team potentially can be. And at home so far, 2-0. Played a well of a game a couple of weeks ago against Atlanta, came back, did not give up, kept pounding in this game against Miami, and there will be far better opponents on the home schedule moving forward here than the ones that they played so far in the Dolphins and in the Falcons, but you got to give them a lot of credit for what they did. And really, when you look at it statistically, the Panthers dominated this game. They outgained Miami 418 to 248 yards. The Dolphins, again, could not put together drives, punted 6 times in this game, had 5 consecutive drives where they had a punt in the middle of that game. If it weren't for the turnovers from Bryce Young, this is not a contest at all. Carolina blows out Miami, and Mike McDaniel, who, after blowing a 17-0 lead, I walked past him down here in the tunnel before coming up with the elevator to do the show. Doesn't look like a guy who knows he's going to be sticking around very much longer. Feel for him and his family. Yes, they're rich. They'll be okay. But yeah, he's probably cooked, but he certainly would have been even more cooked had he gotten his ass kicked by Carolina, which statistically should have been the case. They gave up 19 yards rushing. When did you ever believe that this defense could give up only 19 yards on the ground? They did a good job after what happened in week 1 against Arizona, did a good job against Atlanta. Even last week really did a solid job aside from really one drive where DJ Johnson, who is no longer with us here in Carolina, he's alive. He's just not on the team anymore, which is what everyone here involved wanted to see happen as he was cut earlier this week. They went out there, held him 19 yards. That's a hell of a job by the Panthers defensively and a hell of a job by Rico Dowdle. That is the story, the way the defense was able to hold tight for Carolina, allow the offense to get back in here, and how Rico Dowdle played. The story also was Bryce Young. Had a lot of people texting me, tweeting at me, or I guess posting at me, whatever you want to call it on Blue Sky, about Bryce Young and how they were done with Bryce, ready to move on, and what the hell is this? And then what do you know? Bryce is a part of the comeback, and he had some great plays, had some bad plays, and we got the full Bryce Young experience here on Sunday. We'll talk more about that here in just a moment on Locked on Panthers. This episode is brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are the places that become an extension of home, whether it's the sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. When we show up as a community, it can mean big business for local business owners. Money spent in a neighborhood stays in a neighborhood. Take this ad as an excuse to go support your favorite local spot and have yourself a day in the neighborhood. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward, really moments, is Rico Dowdle's 206 yards rushing on the ground. Dowdle tied Jonathan Stewart for the second most rushing yards in a single game in Panthers franchise history. Dowdle came to Carolina as RB2 after a breakout season in Dallas, coming to work behind Chuba Hubbard. Chuba, who is out today with a calf injury. You watch Rico then come in here and have a breakout day, a big day back home here in Carolina, and making the most out of his opportunity. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. The Carolina Panthers come back from a 17-0 deficit at home to defeat the Miami Dolphins 27-24, improving to 2-3 on the season, welcoming the Dallas Cowboys next week at home here inside Bank of America Stadium. An important win for Carolina, an important win for Dave Canales, an important win for Bryce Young. And I put this out there on Twitter earlier today when I was sitting up in the press box. The Panthers entering today were 1-18 in games where Bryce Young had at least one turnover, whether it's an interception, a fumble, both. They were 1-18 in those games, meaning that when Bryce Young played bad, was not taking care of the football, the Panthers were unable to overcome those performances. They were not able to win in spite of their quarterback in the past. Today, maybe they did win in spite of him. Certainly, we got the good and we got the bad. We got the full Bryce Young experience. And I had plenty of y'all hitting me up in my DMs over on Twitter and on Blue Sky. I had my friend group chat. They were mad as hell about what was going on with Bryce, where, again, that fumble, that cannot happen. I don't know whether he was spooked by Bradley Chubb. Just fall down. Don't lose the ball. Obviously, he's not trying to in that situation, but that's just comically bad for that to happen. The interception, we have seen overthrows, and that's really been the primary interception we see from Bryce, just an overthrow, and that was one over the middle to Xavier Legette. Can't have that and have those then be cast into 14 points, and yet again, spot your opponent 14. And yeah, the defense got to do a better job in sudden change. They have not necessarily done a great job in that scenario so far this season, but you can't give the Dolphins short fields, especially a Dolphins team where when they were starting from the 25 or the 24, whatever it was, inside the 30, they weren't moving the ball. But when they were starting from their own 42, from the Carolina 49, and then from their own 43 later on, they scored on those drives. So if you gave them a short field, they were able to score. But when you didn't, they were unable today in this game. And we, again, got the good and the bad from Bryce, and it's kind of like hard to like know what to make out of this performance from Bryce Young. I give him a lot of credit for not folding, for not letting his mistakes compound into a day where he looks so bad. And the entire narrative coming out of this would have been, oh, do the Carolina Panthers need to bench Bryce Young? Do they need a trade for somebody? I mean, I had someone saying trade for Mac Jones. My God, yeah, he played well the other day. Maybe Shanahan should have taken him in the first place back in 2021. We'll never know. I'm just not there yet. I was ready to come up here and be like, yeah, he didn't play well, but we still, after last year, when I said after he got benched, it's over for Bryce, got 12 more games after this one. So plenty of time to still collect more information, a term that Dave Canales likes to throw out there a lot, and to figure out what exactly you have in Bryce, trying to see things through. And when he comes back and takes care of the football after those two turnovers, and like he did last week, even in that loss and even the win against Atlanta, we can have a more measured conversation on the show about what Bryce did and where the Panthers go from here with Bryce Young. And like, there was good. Go back when they're 17-0 down in the first half, where it's 4th down and 4 from the Miami 47. They're in no man's land. He's getting rushed. He's evading the rush, gets out to the right and rolls out of the pocket and throws it to Tedero McMillan and just barely gets it to him for a 20-yard completion. And then later on that drive, an excellent throw. And I put it out there. You get some mind-numbingly bad turnovers from Bryce, and then you get insane throws like that 7-yard touchdown, which XL told us in the locker room was a trust throw, where Bryce just with anticipation, with the guy draped all over XL, is able to hit him there in the end zone. And like, that was an excellent throw. Like, that is the good that you get with Bryce. You also got the game-winning drive where, yes, Rico Dowdle, really good 16-yard run to get him started. He starts cramping up, has to come out of the ball game. And then from then on, yes, there was a nice 12-yard run also from Trevor Etienne. It was Bryce making some plays. Had a 24-yard throw to Xavier Legette on a corner route similar to the one where he did not get in bounds against Jacksonville in week 1. Had plenty of space to do so. He makes a play there. It's 4th and ball game, it feels like. He finds Jimmy Horn for 17 yards on a nice little corner route as well. Then to throw to Mitchell Evans for a touchdown. Even the drive prior, he's running it in, getting stopped at the 1, but showing that toughness and the willingness to throw his body on the line to try to get his team out there on top. You saw the good. You saw the out of structure, off-platform kind of stuff, even the sidearm throw out to, I believe, Rico in one of these games. I guess it was really a pass because it was behind the line of scrimmage. You saw some of the things that excite you about what Bryce can be here in Carolina, but then you get the bad, like the fumble because of the pressure, like the overthrow, the fact that 34 points so far that have come off of his turnovers this season. He's got to be better. He has to be. But I do think that maybe you learn a little bit about Bryce Young, that he was able to bounce back and to help lead this team down the field for that touchdown when their best player on the day, Rico Dowdle, was out with that hamstring injury on that drive. So I give him credit. I certainly hope to not have to come back here and talk about days where Bryce Young has 2 turnovers. And then, I mean, Carolina can still win. That's great. But then you're going to be asking yourself a lot, when is it going to run out, as far as maybe not the luck, but their ability to win such games? And when you play a team like Miami, who is not very good, and maybe Carolina's not very good either, we're still figuring out how good this team can be this season, you can win. But when you play Buffalo, when you play the Rams, when you play the Packers, probably not going to win those games when you're down 17-0 and your quarterback is giving the ball away 2 times and letting 14 points go on the board for your opponent. And yes, the defense got to do a better job picking him up in that situation, but the Panthers now improved to 2-18 in games where Bryce Young has turned the ball over. The other win was last year here at home against New Orleans Saints, a 23-22 win before they headed over to Munich. And they are 6-15 now when Bryce Young throws for less than 200 yards, 198 yards for Bryce Young through the air, 2 touchdowns, getting it done in this win, even though had a lot of people upset, a lot of people asking questions about who this guy is and whether the Panthers could live with Bryce Young as their quarterback for not just the rest of the season, but for the future. And I'm sure questions will continue to ask and conversations we'll continue to have here on Locked On Panthers and, of course, throughout Panthers Nation as Panthers, again, get a 27-24 win. And big one, needed to have it, got Dallas next week. We'll look ahead to that here in just a moment on Locked On Panthers. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. The Panthers get it done, winning 27-24 here at home. Now 2-0 on the season at home and 0-3 on the road. Dallas coming to town next week. Cowboys team that absolutely defiled the New York Jets. Now, let's be honest. The Jets, they are terrible. Carolina will see them in 2 weeks. That is a game that you look at. You got to beat New York. And that's an opportunity now with Dallas coming to town next week where if you can get that win, hold serve at home again, beat a bad Jets team, you're 4-3 with Buffalo coming to town. Then you're going to Green Bay. And obviously, let's not get too ahead of ourselves in that situation. But this was important, man. This team could not fall to 1-4 and have y'all just check out for the rest of the season, be looking at mock drafts. I know there's been a lot of time. I saw I was looking, as Vash Saher was sitting in front of me in the press box, and she was looking through her Twitter, and someone was saying, welcome Lenora Sellers to Carolina. I like Lenora Sellers. I don't know if I like Lenora Sellers that much right now. I want to see more what he's going to do down in Columbia, but there's a lot of quarterbacks looking around in college, like Cade Klubnik. I saw him firsthand on Saturday, like Bill Belichick, North Carolina. They're a complete mess, but I don't think Cade Klubnik's special. Garrett Nussmeier, I don't think he's healthy, has not looked great. Dante Moore's looked awesome at Oregon, but there's talk that he's probably going to stay there for another year. Drew Aller at Penn State. Yikes. Like, there's not a lot of guys to look at in this upcoming 2026 class where there were mock drafts before the season saying 6 quarterbacks going in the first round. Didn't feel like the year to try to find a quarterback, and it may still end up being that case for Carolina, but at least that talk can be tabled for the next week as, of course, y'all all enjoy the win throughout the week and the prospects potentially beating Cowboys team. And if that happens, you got to feel like you should beat the Jets on the road because, again, it's the Jets, and they are terrible. But really shout out, though, to a couple of guys who got opportunities today. Like Brady Christensen brought that up as far as how they ran the ball to the right side consistently. That's when they had the 53-yard run. There was another 44-yarder, I believe, later on in the game. It was to the right. It was behind Cade. It was behind Brady. It was behind Taylor. I, for the life of me, do not understand why it took until Chandler Zavala went down, Robert Hunt went down, Austin Corbett went down. I mean, really, it's Zavala going down for Brady Christensen to get this opportunity. And when Icky missed week 1, like, why was Brady not at left tackle? Why did Brady not get the call again last week when Chandler went down? Why was it Brandon Walton who was coming in over Brady Christensen? And Brady showed you his value. We'll look at the PFF grades on Tuesday as we go over the good, the bad, and the ugly from this game. And that should be a doozy. Yes, there was a lot of good, some bad, and certainly some ugly parts of what happened today, but a lot more fun to talk about that after a Panthers win. But I thought Brady was great in this game, and you got to give him a lot of credit for the way he performed. And you look at Jimmy Horn Jr., a guy where a lot of y'all were questioning, like, why is he not out there? Why is Dale Von Campbell getting an opportunity? Why is Bryson Tremaine out there ahead of him? Why is Jimmy Horn Jr. not playing? And he sat there for the first 4 weeks of the season of his career and didn't get a uniform. having to be inactive, which I can't imagine. Going out there, practicing all week, going through the preseason, going through training camp. But yeah, he was a 6th-round pick. He has to earn everything. Nothing's going to be given to him. I understand all of that. But damn, man, like that's got to be somewhat demoralizing. I asked him about it, and he's like, nah, man, I'm a happy guy. I've been happy. It hasn't worried me at all. And he got his opportunity. And he loved the fact that he's got a coach in Dave Canales who believes in him. And Dave believes in Xavier Legette. We'll talk about him momentarily. But the belief to have in Jimmy Horn that on 4th and 5, 4th and feels like you got to have it or else you're going to lose this game, for him to get that reception in that situation, had another catch over the middle where he kind of got hit pretty hard. They got him on a couple run plays. They got him involved. And I really liked how they utilized him. I was hoping he'd be more than just a gadget guy. And we saw that especially late in the game as Carolina's driving down, take the lead and win the game. Jimmy Horn Jr. came up big in this game. Now, he wasn't out there on punt return. That feels like an issue right now with David Moore not out there because Trevor Etienne, he didn't return a punt today. He's had his issues back there. DJ Dallas, what the hell is he doing on one of those? He's had his issues. Hunter Renfrow has not looked comfortable back there when he's got an opportunity. So maybe Jimmy Horn should get an opportunity back at punter, because punt returner, I don't think he should be punting for Sam Martin. But at punt return, he should get an opportunity because looking at what he did offensively in this game. And we'll see how things change as Jalen Coker comes back, and he'll be at least at practice next week. They're going to open up his window, and they're going to see how he progresses, and maybe he can play next Sunday here against Dallas. But that will change the calculus for some guys in the offense, I would think, for Hunter Renfrow especially. But Jimmy Horn Jr., got to continue to get him opportunities, and maybe even get him more opportunities than Hunter, just looking at what Hunter's done so far this season, aside from that second half against Arizona. Would like to get the young fella and Jimmy Horn some more opportunities than Xavier Legette. I've been hard on him. I've never really been a believer that he was going to be a top-tier receiver, and I think so far, that seems to be a pretty obvious thing that he's not, but I don't sit here and believe he can't be a good player for Carolina and be helpful for them. And it's great that they have Tedero McMillan, who, again, had another good day for the Panthers. And you had to have a touchdown this season. Got to get him a touchdown at some point here in the next coming weeks. But I thought XL, he only had, I believe, 2 receptions on the day. Looking at the stat pack. Yeah, 2 receptions for 31 yards. The 7-yard touchdown, again, that he said was a trust throw to make that with the guy all over him. No flag on the play anyways, but to be able to haul that one in. Didn't do the dollar bill celebration. He said that he's going to put that one away for now, but to see that happen, Dave Canales was telling us after the game that he was emotional, he was in tears, because I'm sure Dave is aware of all the things that I guess you guys have said and what I've said, what everyone's written, and the narrative around XL early on this season, those first 2 games where he wasn't out there on the last drive of the game against Arizona. Bryson Tremaine was. That was Dave Canales' decision, and Dave has to know that it's difficult for him, but that's also why you coach, man, for guys who go through these struggles. And he just thought, but he had to have one thing pop for XL. And maybe it's not an explosive play for 7 yards, but it's a touchdown. And that's as explosive as it can get. And for that to happen for him, it's awesome to hear a coach have that kind of emotion, a sideline to have that kind of emotion for a guy who didn't really want to make too much out of his struggles early on this season, was pretty kind of short with the media, which he doesn't really say a lot of things anyways, but it was good to see him have that success and I guess get us off his back for a little bit, as I still think it's early. And I was thinking, when people are asking me, should you bench him? Well, if you can bench Bryce Young after 2 weeks, you can certainly bench Xavier Legette. But Dave came out there and said something he never said about Bryce last year when he did it, that he believed in Xavier Legette. And this is a guy who's still young and needs more reps and to give him an opportunity, which is kind of why I was against benching Bryce in the first place last year. But of course it worked out. And maybe having that 2-week break due to the hamstring injury worked out for Xavier Legette to come back here to make that play, make another play on that game-winning drive. I don't know, but I give him a lot of credit, give Christensen a lot of credit, give Jimmy Horn, give Rico Dowdle, and hell, man, you talk about depth. Now, XL is not depth, of course, but Rico is. Jimmy is, Brady is, and for those guys coming into this game and to play as well as they did, and also got to get a hat tip to, Teron Merrick was great in this game. I'm trying to find the defensive stats in here, but I was looking at it throughout the game. The guy had, at one point, I was looking at 8 combined tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and he was stepping in there in place of Shaw Smith-Wade today. Now, Corey Thornton did get some opportunities in the nickel defense. Fine, it's all the way in the back here. Yeah, but Merrick had 7 combined tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and that led the team today. The team overall had 9 TFLs. That has to be the most so far this season. 3 sacks as well. Probably the best pressure percentage of the year for Carolina against Miami, especially there when they were getting all those forced punts in the middle of the game. And even at the end, they were with Pat Jones getting the sack. But Javon Merrick playing closer to the line of scrimmage, maybe he should play more of that big nickel. Shaw Smith-Wade, good player as well, was out with the chest injury. Not sure what the severity of that is. Sounds like you kind of want Merrick up there a little bit more, helping out in the run game. I don't know, but he played a good game defensively. I mean, overall, Derek Brown, he was great as always. Thought Nick Scorton, he played a good game. The defense, linebackers, I thought they were better. Rosebeam led the team with 9 tackles today. All around, I thought it was a good, strong defensive performance. You had those 2 drives where it was sudden change. You got to do better in that situation. Yeah, you got beat there. Mike Jack did by Jalen Waddle, who's one of the fastest dudes in the league. It happens. But overall, I thought that unit played a really good game, and then they were able to pick it up and allow the offense to come back. And Rico Dowdle got it done. Bryce Young got it done. Mitchell Evans with the game-winning touchdown, might I add. I almost forgot to say that. He got it done as well. Carolina fighting back, showing that resiliency in who they are in the face of adversity with this 27-24 win at home against the Miami Dolphins. Dallas coming to town next week. That's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, hosted by yours, Julian Council. Again, y'all subscribe or follow us free over on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And be sure to follow me, Julian Council, over on Twitter and Blue Sky at Julian Council, where on Wednesday, I'm back answering your weekly Wednesday mailbag questions. All you got to do is at me or DM me on both of those handles at Julian Council. In the meantime, be safe, be happy, be whole. As always, keep pounding, and we'll be back on Tuesday, going over the good, the bad, and the ugly from this game, getting an update from Dave Canales, and then his victory that I gave you on Friday. All that and more come here on Tuesday on Locked On Panthers. Oh, trying to end it.